what advice would you give to new duos or new bands, new musicians?
Yeah, I would say that if you're gonna do something like what we're doing, which it's all DIY, so we kind of create everything ourselves. Do a lot of research, choose inspiration from other musicians. We also uh, getting rid of all of our belongings and kind of creating that world in which you can be free to tour and go around and do music everywhere, and bring music to people. That's probably the main advice, is that you're gonna have to do that, because we're kind of in that age where now you can do a lot of social media stuff online, but you still have to go places and play your music live, so
Mm-hmm.
people can hear it and experience it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's not really a lot of money to be made off of actually like selling albums exactly. Although they're a huge, investment. That's where a lot of like our money goes in the band, is to actually produce the album.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually you might make back that money of production. But I mean, a lot of times like our album was released, right, and then people can stream it for free on Spotify. So the incentive to buy music isn't always there. But when you are traveling in person, people do want to buy the actual like physical thing from you, because
Mm-hmm.
they're there.
Yeah, a
And
memento of the event, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
and merchandise is incredibly important, especially if you're touring.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you really can make your money, and you can't really count on bars, how much you're going to make.
Yeah.
The one thing you can control is having things that you can sell to people, regardless of how much money the venue decides to give you. So I think, like, in the beginning, it's hard to get that started, right? The merch, because you have to, like, make some investment in, like, T-shirts and stuff, and you can DIY it, spray paint and a stencil. Doesn't have to be a lot.
But it adds
But
up. You know.
yeah, it adds up.
Yeah.
And so I think we learned that too pretty quickly. Like, when you're on the road, you're not guaranteed anything, and the one thing you can control is the merch aspect of it.
Right on.
And be nice to people and meet people, like be outgoing.
Yeah, I was going to add to connect with other musicians too, who might, various music genres, but trying to find those people that you connect with. And that was one of the big surprises too on the road, was just we were in these places that we'd never been, and find surprising hospitality from people you've just met.
Yeah.
And it kind of really restored, like, our, what would you say? Like,
Faith in human beings.
Yeah.
And they're generally good. Like, we found that they're generally good, and they're generally supportive and stuff. So
That's good. That's a good thing to take from touring, because I don't think everybody always gets that same outlook. So.
And I think part of it is actually we went into smaller towns. I think big cities are a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
Like in smaller towns, like St. Joseph, Missouri, we'd never heard of it. A lot of people in Missouri haven't heard of it. And we had no idea what it was going to be like. And it was probably, our favorite show on the tour. Because in the smaller towns, it's like the people they're just as in love with art as anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people don't go through there because they don't see it as like a viable thing. So they're appreciative of artists coming through, and you kind of really create those relationships with people, because, it's like you're not just hitting the big cities like New York, Chicago, Boston, you're actually hitting places in between. So I would say that's also advice I would give to beginning bands. Go to smaller cities, and we found that those shows are better.
Huh, that's interesting, because I haven't done a whole lot of small cities, so I'm going to have to start trying that.